When you don't go to Geico.com, car insurance can seem intense. Like breakup R&B intense.
I thought you said you loved the sweater that I got you. If you didn't, you could have told me.
Geico makes it easy. Just go to Geico.com anytime to update or check your policy without all the extra drama.
I even had a gift receipt.
Goldilocks Productions presents the Living in Partnership with Spirit show with Ingrid Turner. Ingrid is a spiritual medium, a spiritual coach, and diviner. She connects with loved ones, spirit guides, spiritual energies, and the higher self to help her clients heal, connect with their authentic spiritual path, and live in their power. This 1-hour show will give listeners the opportunity to call in and ask a question from Spirit, get spiritual guidance, or to ask questions of the special guest. Call in now to reserve your spot on the switchboard. The call-in number for this show is 657-383-1895. Enjoy this healing and powerful show.
Hi, welcome to the Living in Partnership with Spirit show. I'm Ingrid Turner, your host. I'm so happy to be here again today and share with you my work, the work of many healers, intuitives, spiritual leaders, and teachers I get to have on this show. So I work with people as a spiritual medium. That means I connect with Spirit on your behalf and I relay messages to you. So I give private readings over phone, Skype, or in person. And I also work with individuals and groups on an ongoing basis to help you connect directly with this divine source that I tap into on your behalf anyway. So through that connection, help you develop your own spiritual structure. You can learn more about me and what I do on my website at www.ingridhturner.com. That's INGRIDHTURNER.com. You can also connect with me on my Facebook group. It's called Living in Partnership with Spirit, so it's the same name as this show. You just plug that into Facebook search and it'll pop right up. I like to start with this show with a definition of sorts about what living in partnership in spirit means. So for me, living in partnership with Spirit means to commune with the divine, live from a place of feeling and intuition, and really living with less anxiety and more certainty in your life. Ultimately, living in partnership with Spirit means living your highest purpose in this body on this planet. So what this show does is explore the different themes, topics, and paths to living in partnership with Spirit. We'll delve into the ways which we communicate, how we experience, and how we work with Spirit in our daily lives. Show guests and myself talk about our experiences, our spiritual work, and answer your questions. So each week we explore a different topic related to our overall theme of partnership with Spirit. You are welcome to call in with your questions for myself or for the guest. During today's interview, we are not doing readings, but if you have a burning question, stay on because I'm setting aside the last 20 minutes of our show to do readings. So stay tuned. The number to call in is 657-383-1895, and then you can press 1 to get on the show. So this week we have Monika Carless joining us to talk about her work as an author. She's a channeler and a healer. She's a Reiki master and a holistic nutritionist. She follows the wise woman tradition as a solitary witch. She lives in Vancouver Island, BC. Her work can be found in columns on Elephant Journal, on her website, Simply Solitary. We'll have her give more details on that in a minute. So she's a free spirit and she challenges social norms and works for the collective growth of consciousness. Today, we're going to talk about a specific aspect of her work. She has a novel out called A Dark Pool, and the messages that novel encompasses. So it's long been my belief that all creative work is channeled work. I feel like music and painting and poetry, all of that are messages from the divine channeled through us. So writing is the same. Fiction writing is simply relaying the information from another time, another place, or another dimension. So I'm really excited to have met Monika because she wrote her novel, A Dark Pool, and was very aware of the channeling experience as she was working on that piece, as she wrote that novel. So she completed a work of fiction, understanding the connection she had with her characters as a channeling experience. Okay, so let's bring her on. Monika, Welcome.
Hi, Ingrid.
How are you?
Thank you so much for having me on. I'm very well, thank you.
Awesome. Thank you for coming on. I'm so thrilled to have you. So listen, just before you and I dive in to our conversation, can you tell people how we can contact you?
Yes, I can be contacted through my website. It's simply solitary.wordpress.com, or I can be contacted through my email at mccoyote, COYOTE, 1@gmail.com. Coyote is my spirit name. And also on Facebook, I'm there as the Raven and the Mystic.
The Raven and the Mystic. Okay, great. Thank you.
Yes.
So just Monika, just a quick reminder to our live listeners. If you would like to call in and ask Monika a question about her work during our interview, we welcome that. We're not doing readings during this interview, but stay on the line if you want a reading, because I'm setting aside the last 20 minutes of the show for that. Once again, the call-in number is 657-383-1895, and then press 1. So, Monika, can we start with I want a little, I don't go into too much detail about you because I really want to hear your background information. Can you give us a snapshot of your journey, kind of how you got to where you are now and what you're doing?
Okay. I started out a long time ago as being very interested in nature. Nature really has been my healer. I had kind of an abusive childhood, and I always went to nature to, find respite and, find my center again. And as my life went on, I found that I could always go back to the source. And for me, the source was in the woods or in the fields, and that's where I found the divine. And that kind of precipitated my journey towards becoming a mystic or a witch. I like to use the word witch because it's been taboo, and I'm all about breaking the taboos. So, yeah. And I've always been interested in the health of our human condition and how it relates to our spirituality. So, yeah, and finally, I have always been a great reader because that was also a place of solace for me. And then, as often readers do, they become writers. And I started writing for myself, just journaling, and then eventually I began on a novel.
Wow! And is this novel, A Dark Pool, your first novel?
It is my first novel, and I always knew that I would write one, but I had no idea what it would be. I just waited for it to arrive.
Wow. So what is your novel's called A Dark Pool, and is it only available on Amazon?
Yes, it's available on Amazon. Yeah.
Okay. So can you give us a synopsis of your novel? What's the plot? What's the purpose?
Yep. The plot of it is a woman who retreats to kind of a solitary life where she's kind of made a mess of a love relationship, and her the main impetus of moving was to kind of recalibrate and find out who she really was and see if she could live a more authentic life, because she found that within society it was difficult to be completely authentic because, there was judgment and, the usual things that we go through as we go through our journey. It wasn't an intentional channeled work. I became aware that it was being channeled as time went on, and I do a lot of astral travel, so I'm already used to meeting up with spirit guides and, going here and there while I'm asleep. But then I realized that I was also doing it while I was awake, which was a really great revelation. And the book really is about authenticity, and hopefully to offer some kind of a bit of power to people for people to kind of step out into their own authenticity. But on the outside, the book is about a polyamorous relationship between a man and two women, and then they discovered that they have had a past life together, and we also go back into time. So
it's if you were going to put it, does it fit in a genre? If you were going to simplify it for people? Is it science fiction?
Yeah.
Or fantasy?
It's definitely erotica. It's, I mean, I'm not mincing words. In the book, it's definitely erotica, but it's also pagan and a lot of spiritual kind of intonations in there as well.
Right, right. So how did you come to understand that this was a channeled work? What was that like?
One day I realized that I was communicating with the main character, and it wasn't in the usual. Usually when I communicated with the characters of my book, it was while I was meditating, and I would just kind of seek guidance, and so I assumed that I was speaking to my muse, which, you know, a lot of writers are familiar with. You know, the muse will come in and attach itself to you, and then you're conveying, what they're trying to convey. But then I realized at some point that I was also getting other spiritual advice from the main character, and one day he just revealed that he was my guide, had been my guide for a long time, and that, you know, I was going to write this thing that seemed on the outside as a very naughty, you know, it's a naughty book, but but it was with a message, and began to pay more attention at that point, you know, to what he was saying.
Mhm. So the main character of your book, can I ask what his name is?
Aiden.
Aiden. Okay. Oh, right, Aiden. Okay.
Yeah.
We'll go back to Aiden. Okay. So Aiden is your spirit guide. He's been with you for quite a long time now. So he's telling you this story. Is he telling you his story?
Okay, so that's a really good question. At one point while I was writing it, my partner Steve said to me, "These people are real. They're just in another dimension, and you're just bringing their story to light." And that really struck me, because he had the revelation about that instead of me, and I was thinking, wait a minute, I should be having these revelations on my own. And at some point I realized that Aiden was not only an individual, but Aiden was also a group, like a soul group that was channeling through me. And there also were a group of people who existed in another dimension, and they were expressing their experience through the work of fiction that I was putting together. So while they were using my talent as a writer, and, you know, obviously my earth experience and my, you know, what I had experienced in life, which colors everything, but they were using, you know, just me as the medium for this story that had to come out. And at one point in time, Aiden said to me, "This is coming out, like this story is coming out for a purpose, and you just need to sit down and write it." And that gave me a lot of confidence, because I realized it wasn't about me, and I could detach from, you know, I could detach from it as being something that my ego was, you know, all wrapped up in. So.
Oh, you know, that is so powerful what you said right there, Monika, because I think a lot of people, a lot of creative people who act as a channel for creativity like this, you know, whether painting or writing or making music, they suffer so much because because of that ego identity with what they're creating, what they are bringing through. So, I mean, I feel like it's almost palpable what you just described, is that disconnecting your ego from the process. So what does it feel like now? I mean, you're a writer, so I know you've experienced that ego identity with your work. So I'd love to hear, what does that feel like? Because if creative people are listening to the show and kind of coming to understand that this is what is going on with them, you know, this channeling, and it's the divine, the spirit coming through, can you describe kind of the difference between being that ego identity with what you're creating versus letting it go, letting it come through, and realizing it's bigger than yourself?
I think the main thing for me that I realized is how much joy I was receiving on a daily basis, conveying the material. I've never really I mean, I understand the whole romantic ideal of being, the suffering artist, and, the more we've suffered in our life, then the more, creative we can become. And I've certainly suffered a lot in my life, but I've also had a very beautiful life. But the main work of bringing the book to light has been very joyful, and I can on a daily basis say that I'm sitting down to write, and no matter what happens, there's no guarantees. Maybe one person will read it, maybe a million people will read it, but there is this genuine joy in just transmitting the information. And so I can let go of that whole suffering aspect, because one, I don't like it. I don't want to suffer. And I don't even want
thank you.
And I don't even want to identify myself as a suffering creative, because I don't think that that's inspiring. I don't think that that's going to inspire anyone. And I think that if we're going to attach ourselves to being, a suffering creative, then we're just basically working through our pain body, and it's for our own, I don't know what is the word. I'm looking for the word in English. Just for our own therapy or catharsis to write.
Yes.
But because I have often been asked to write my life story, and I've never wanted to write it because I felt that I would use it as a form of catharsis, and I didn't want to project that onto somebody else. If I was going to do it, I was going to do it in a journal. I wasn't going to project my suffering, outward. So, I don't know if I've answered the question. Now I feel like I'm rambling.
No, that's okay. I think we're getting really good stuff out of the rambles. But,
okay.
I think that, I guess, let me see. Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think that when you find yourself in that suffering role, when it comes to now, there's a difference between using your suffering to access your creativity and using your creativity to suffer. So when I think about come in and just, so that little nuance is, it's when we put something out there and we have anxiety about it, or we feel like it's not good enough, or it'll never be good enough, that kind of like suffering artist, that kind of thing, that's when you've got your ego identity all wrapped up in it. And that's what you've been able to pop out of, so you could just enjoy the process.
Went through it. Yeah, I definitely went through it, but I had to come out of it, because otherwise, on a daily basis, I would be sitting down to something that I didn't enjoy. And to me, that I only have so many days. There's like I'm just coming up to my 56th birthday, and I'm very, very conscious of how many days I have left. And I'm presuming I have lots, but, maybe I don't. But whatever I have, it needs to be lived from a place of joy and authenticity. And so also, while I wrote this book, and I was very visceral in how I wrote the sex scenes, and I used the C word, and, I didn't bother portraying women as being saints or, ladies. Which you would see if you read the book, that I'm quite liberal in the sex scenes. I wanted to connect readers with the spiritual aspect of sexuality, and that we don't need to label it. We don't need to say, we don't need to agree on our sexuality. We don't need to say that one way is right and the other way is wrong. I just wanted to say that our sexuality is indeed a spiritual experience, and it's one of the ways that we connect with the divine. And I think that that's been squashed for so long that we don't know how to connect that way anymore. Sex is just something that, we do because it feels nice. But we've forgotten that is how we connect to the divine.
Yes, it is. If enlightenment is dropping into the moment, just living in the moment, that's really that's enlightenment right there. That's That's finding your divinity, is dropping into the moment. Where is the one place everybody can get to the moment of orgasm? That's when everybody drops in. That's
exactly.
a connection. That's absolutely a connection to the divine, right there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and often we're chasing the orgasm because we want that pleasurable moment, and we forget that if we just step out of it and we step out of our mind and we don't focus on it, you can actually drop into a much, much deeper place and have a spiritual experience through your orgasm instead of it just being this thing that you're chasing.
Right. Right. Well, it's the same thing with drugs and alcohol, for example. When you ingest something that, changes your brain chemistry for a few minutes, it drops you into the moment. It gives you that euphoria. You can use that two ways. They're doing research now where the psilocybin is, doing, I don't know if I pronounced that right, I'm terrible, but, they're doing amazing things with hallucinogenics and finding that, people can really heal and help themselves from things that are not healable, right? Like addiction and trauma and PTSD. And then you've got the other side of it, which is just chasing the pleasure, chasing down the escape or what have you. It's the same thing.
For sure.
So do you feel like
No, you go ahead.
Okay. No, you
go.
Do you feel like the erotica part of the dark pool is? It sounds to me like that. What I feel like what I'm hearing from you is the erotica part of your novel, A Dark Pool, isn't just. It's not fluff to go along with the spiritual message. It's an integral part of the spiritual message. The using sex and sensuality and that kind of connection with another human being to reach spiritual levels.
Yes, and it comes very naturally for me. I can understand why the whole soul group of Aiden and the character of Aiden attached to me is because I'm a Scorpio. I'm a very sexual person. I'm a very free person, and I really wanted to write a story about love, but I also wanted it to be erotic because we shy away from it. We've often been told that if you're erotic, you're not spiritual, or you're not connected. You're too connected to your body. You're not connected enough to spirit. And I really wanted to blow that up and say, no, this is a pathway to spirituality. And often people will say to me, oh, I'm really surprised it wasn't just a sex scene after sex scene kind of patched together with bits of words, but there's really no story there. They were just, like they said, we really fell for the characters and we really felt for them and we wanted to know what happened to them next, and that it was a complete story. It wasn't just, smut, just patched together. And that was very important to me to put together a story that allowed us to care for the characters, and then we could kind of see ourselves within them and say, okay, this was their journey. What's my journey about? And indeed, people have written to me and said, I thought I knew who I was until I read this. This has opened a whole new mindset for me. And I used to be ashamed of my sexuality or my needs. And now I understand that I'm also a spiritual being, and I can explore this without feeling ashamed.
Oh, wow. That's huge, Monika, really being able to give that to people, because we do live in, our society is still very, very puritanical, and it's hard for people to embrace their sexuality in like completely. We'll let out little pieces of it that are acceptable. But I think few people are really willing to dive in by themselves with what their curiosities and needs and interests are, let alone with another person. So I think that's wonderful that your book is helping people to acknowledge it by making people feel safe. Sounds like it's really making people feel safe in their sexuality.
I hope so. I mean, that's my goal. I hope that people feel like it's somewhere they can go where they can explore, like it's, they're kind of being voyeuristic because they're reading about these other people that are having these sexual experiences, but then they can reflect back and say, okay, I've also desired this, I've also wanted that, and it's okay. Like container, the book is like a container where people can also pour themselves into and say, I feel safe here. And, so I'm not like I'm because I have had also the comment of, well, it's erotica, you're not going to change the world with it, but I disagree. I think I
disagree too.
Yeah. And
I think that's
really
exactly
nice.
what changes the world.
Mhm. Yeah, and and I feel very grateful that I've been the channel for it. And I've read plenty of channeled works. Like, actually, when I read Paulo Coelho, I feel like, he's a major channel. I've read there's a woman who wrote a book in the 80s, Barbara Marciniak. She wrote a book called Earth, and it's a channeled work through the Pleiadians. And it's not a work of fiction, but it's a book that really opened my mind to being able to work with your guides in order to kind of transmit information. And came as a big surprise to me that you could write a work of fiction and it be a channeled experience. It was a new concept for me, even though I'm really connected with spirit. I was still surprised that,
it's amazing it's amazing how narrow our view of the most open-minded of people, of all of us. We're so narrow, and when we realize, when we sort of like look to the right a little bit or to the left a little bit and go, oh, it never even occurred to me. It's like little things like that. And that shortly before you and I connected, I realized that my first channeling experience was also my first writing experience. I was 7 years old, and I had like a low-grade fever or something. I wasn't feeling very well, and I was 7 years old, and I was sitting there, and all of a sudden this man showed up, and he started talking to me, and he started like so I picked up a pen and paper, and I don't remember exactly how the process went, but I wrote a poem based on what he was telling me. And he was telling me about, it was so vivid. It was like he was like sitting against a tree. He was holding his woman in his arms, and he started to fade away, and all his limbs started to disappear, and he was freaking out. And so I wrote this poem called Faded, and and it was from the perspective of a grown man. And then afterwards, he disappeared. And I was like, I remember walking into the kitchen or something and going, Mom, Dad, I wrote a poem. And they're like, we're busy, go away. I was like, okay. So the next day, they had read it, though, after I was gone. And the next day, I remember my father going, that was really good, Ingrid. And he goes, why did you write from the perspective of a grown man? And because, it was not my words. It was, and I just, I don't know, and it took me years to look back on that and go, oh, I channeled. That wasn't mine. Even though I remember seeing the man, hearing what he said, and writing it down, I did not put it together for decades that I had channeled something, that I had channeled a poem. It's like, oh, yeah, that was a cool experience. So that's what I was so excited when you and I started talking, and I went, oh, yes, there it is. That's what we've got to talk about here. So I want to know, I was so young when it happened to me, it's hard for me to remember what the process was. I feel like there's like this blank spot between like seeing the man and writing the poem. Can you give us an idea of what the process of channeling and writing has been for you, what that's been like?
Okay. Basically, when I'm sitting down to write, I usually do a meditation before I sit down to write, because I have naturally always wanted to connect to my personal guides and, have them close, just, not necessarily for inspiration, but just for courage and, just to feel safe. And I realized that I would get a feeling of a presence around me, and it was very warm and very loving and encouraging. And after a while, I got to understand that it was the same essence or the same energy that I was surrounded by all the time when I was writing this book. So one day I just had to ask, because I wanted to put a name to it, because made me feel more comfortable that if I was addressing the energy, I didn't just keep saying, hey, you over there in the corner, So, and then the energy said that his name was Aiden and that he was a soul group, but he was also an individual, and that he was being transmitted into the main character of the book. So then I would just allow that presence to envelop me every time that I wrote. And then I would realize that he would sometimes come with me when I went to go grocery shopping. And sometimes he would sit in the car with me, and we started having conversations that had nothing to do with the book. But he would feed me insights, and we would talk about all manner of things. And he would encourage me. Like every day he would say to me, this thing has to happen. Like, you're the person that's going to write it, and this is a story that's coming out, and it's meant to be, and you don't need to worry about the whys and wherefores of it, but we're doing this thing. So I felt very, very safe with him, and there's a lot of times that I don't remember what I've written. I know that it's my style of writing that it comes out in, because obviously he's using my physicality, to put it together. But I will read chapters that I've written a few days before, and I'm like, wow, I don't even remember writing this thing.
Oh, wow.
Like, it's just, and so I've never plotted my book. I've never looked for names. I've never, looked for instance, the main little village that the people live in is in Colorado, and it's called Riverbend, and it's somewhere between Aspen and Denver. And I never looked on a map, and my girlfriend was here from Ontario not too long ago, and she says, let's look on the map and see if Riverbend really exists. And there it was on the map between Aspen and Denver.
Oh, wow.
I didn't know, because I was in my own bubble for a couple of years just writing, I didn't know that Colorado had made marijuana legal. People are smoking pot left, right, and center in this book. Like, not in there in Colorado. And I mean, they're not there. So there were these little, synchronicities that happened that I had no input into, really. I was just like relaying whatever. The story comes out in a very natural way for me. So yeah, it's been really, really amazing, and I've been really blessed to have this experience. It's so much bigger than me. The story doesn't belong to me. I just feel really grateful that I can put my name to it and say that I was there, when Spirit wanted to move.
Yeah. Yeah. So what would you say is what are the key differences between channeling and writing and just writing from your own mind?
You know what? I'm going to have trouble answering that, because now that's just how I write.
Okay. Maybe it's how we all write. Maybe there's no such thing as writing from the mind.
Yeah, I think that if I'm blocked, if I'm trying to write something and I get, blocked, which doesn't happen very often, I feel that I'm writing from the mind, because I'm trying to make it happen. But if I just open up and I just allow, the energy to move through me, and I know that it's like the collective of knowledge that is out there in the universe, and we're all just kind of, taking something from it. We pick from it and we say, I'm going to express this because I found it out there. If you're not going to express it, somebody else might express it. Do you know what I mean? Like, we're all just conduits of that. The information that I'm putting out in my book, or that anybody else has ever put out in any book, is information that has always been. So it's not like, I'm being terribly original. I'm just expressing what Spirit has been trying to convey through the centuries. And I'm just putting it down on paper for other people to see in a very plain, in a visual way. But it's all stuff that we know, and stuff that we've already experienced, been, living through, through the centuries.
Right. Wow.
I have no idea if I'm making any sense at all.
No, you are.
Like
You absolutely are. Don't worry about it. I think you're channeling, so you just just roll with it.
Words are coming out.
What would you have any advice for people out there who are listening and feeling like, oh my God, I think I could do that, but they don't even know how to get started, or there's a confidence level, or they can't calm their mind down and tune in? I mean, what do you have any advice for people listening and going, me too, but I don't know how or where to start?
The thing that I would say that changed my life absolutely, completely, has been meditation. When I am consistent and in meditation, and I just sit down and just allow myself to go blank, that is when I'm at my most creative. That's really when I detach from who I am as a human being and tap into who I am as, an eternal spirit. So meditation for me has been really the way that I have broken into being a lot more creative, because the mind is stilled. I don't have to think about how it's going to happen or when it's going to happen. I just allow everything that's inside of me to come out. And so I would start there. I would start with meditation, being still. It doesn't have to be sitting, with your feet crossed. You can be walking. You can do a walking meditation. You can be washing the dishes, but just allowing yourself to fall into, the space where everything exists. And for me, that has really been, when I pay attention to the stillness, that's when everything opens up. And sometimes I'll sit down at the computer and I don't have any thought in mind at all. I'll just start typing. It takes a lot of courage to just, type something when you have no idea what's going to come of it. Like, I don't know what the first word is going to be.
Right.
And, I start each chapter really having no idea where I'm going. I'm just having faith that something's going to happen when I start typing. And that took a lot of practice, because I didn't, as soon as I start thinking, that's when I get messed up.
Right. So finding a way to calm the mind, whether that's meditation or exercises or what have you. I mean, I think I always like to say, whenever the subject of meditation comes up, meditation is so fraught. It's like there's so much judgment around meditation about the right way to do it, and and you should be doing it, all of that stuff. And I think it turns a lot of people off of meditation, or at best gets them feel guilty about it. So
and you know what? As I said it,
there.
As I said it, I was feeling that. I was feeling like, oh, people are going to say, oh, I don't meditate, or I don't know how. I tried and it didn't work.
But I always say,
my best.
You have a good piece of advice?
Go. My first very, very good bit of meditation was when I walked across England. I walked 200 miles from the East Coast to the West Coast, and meditation became something that I fell naturally into, because all I had to think about was putting one foot in front of the other, getting from the beginning of the day to the end of the day. And I realized when I got back from that meditation doesn't have to look like anything that anybody's told you. It can be, however you can fall into that space where you feel like you're free of your thoughts. It might happen quite spontaneously. You're riding your bicycle, and after about 10 minutes you realize, wait a minute, I haven't been thinking about anything for 10 minutes. I've just been enjoying myself. So people have to just find their own path to, that Zen place. It doesn't have to look like, what everybody else is saying.
Right, exactly. And the other thing is, it doesn't have to be for very long either. Like 1 minute, 30 seconds of finding the eye of the storm, finding that eye and just getting into that place is going to change everything. It'll bring everything together for you, change your whole day. So I say just play with it, have fun, go explore, go find what calms your mind down. And that's meditation right there.
And I
Monika,
think that as creatives, sorry, go ahead.
No, creatives, finish your thought.
I think that creatives think too much. I think that, we just need, So.
Oh, yeah. Sort of a gnarly piece of the human condition right there. It gets in the way.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Monika, that thank you so much for coming on and talking to us and talking about your novel and your process. It has been a fascinating conversation. I know I learned a lot and got a lot out of it as well. And that's all the time we have for our interview now. But again, thank you so much. All right.
Thank you, Ingrid.
Well, you
one
more time before you leave us, can you tell people how we can contact you?
Yeah, on Facebook through The Raven and the Mystic, and through my website. It's simplysolitary.wordpress.com. Thank you so much.
Great. Thanks, Monika.
Bye-bye.
Have a wonderful day.
You too. Bye-bye.
All right, bye. Okay, so now's the time when we're going to open up the line for call in if you have questions and you need me to tune in and give you guidance. The number to call in is 657-383-1895, and then you'll press 1 to get on the show and talk to me. So our first caller is area code 708. Hi, how are you?
Hi, I'm fine. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. What's your name?
This is Patricia.
Patricia, hi. What can I help you with? You have a question for me?
Yes, I do. I'm seeking employment. I'm employed right now until the end of the year, and I've got my feelers out, hoping that I'll get something before the end of the year or shortly thereafter.
Okay. All right. So what I'm doing first is I'm finding myself tuning into your body, and I'm getting a lot in the heart area, the throat area, and the sacral area. Are you familiar with the chakras?
Yes.
Okay, great. So no explanation needed. So when I tune in here, I feel like what I'm getting, I'm picking up on your fear around the job and around security. Are you, you know what I'm going to do? I'm being called to pull a card for you. Let me just pull up my deck. Okay, so I'm getting communication is going to be really important to you. Talking about what you need, talking to people about what you need. I'm getting talk to your friends and your acquaintances is really going to help. Don't necessarily go for the exact same. You don't necessarily need to stay in the exact same bubble or the exact same container for your work, if that makes sense. Like the same. I feel like the field, but there's be a little more expansive about what you can do. I feel like it's going to be a bit exhausting for you, but you will get there. You just need to stay strong. Just keep pushing through and keep talking about it. I'm getting a lot of energy coming in my throat and like physically coming out of my mouth right now. So, and I'm getting talk to family, talk to friends, talk to people who you wouldn't normally think about to talk to about jobs and career. Those are the people that are going to come around and come through for you. And I'm getting this interesting, what I'm seeing is a coming almost around behind you. You know what I mean? Like you're not going to kind of see it coming. It's going to come from an unexpected direction. That's what I'm getting. So in terms of timing, I feel like more likely shortly after the beginning of the year, after the holidays have calmed down. I'm getting sort of mid-January, early February. That's the time frame that I'm getting for you.
Okay.
All right? Great.
Okay. I appreciate your help.
No problem. You're so welcome.
Bye-bye.
Have a wonderful day. All right, bye.
You too. Bye-bye.
All right, so once again, the number to call in if you would like to get a short little mini reading from me is 657-383-1895, and then you'll press 1 to get on the show. So we don't have anybody in the queue right now, so I'd like to just go ahead and tune in and talk about the energies for the next week and what we need to be thinking about and focusing on. And what I'm getting for us is we've got big dreams, we've got big plans, and there's a feeling of not quite, there's a feeling of slipping on the cliff face, of sort of our fingers feel like they're slipping. But keep climbing is what I'm saying. It's like it's not the slippage that we feel like it is. What we're doing is we're creating this web of like a spider. We're creating this web. It's like we're going round and round and round in circles, and it feels like nothing's going on, and we're going round and round. But what we're doing is we're creating a really thick, solid web, a really solid base for ourselves. Okay, so keep working your craft. Keep practicing, keep perfecting, keep going, because the more, even though it feels like wheel spinning, it feels like circles, you're making more progress than it feels you feel like you're slipping back. You're not. Think of it as a spiral. It's not a circle. It's not a ladder. It's not straight up and down. It's going up and going back down and going up and going back down. And that's just the process that we all have to go through, because that friction, that resistance, that's what gets us in gear, gets us in shape. That's the word that's coming through. That's what gets us in good shape to really act on, to step into our authenticity, to step into our destiny, what we're here to do. We need that sort of, up and down for a period in our lives. So that's the message that is coming through right now is, embrace the up and down, embrace the challenges and the slippage, and understand that this is all in preparation for you to stand up and to shine really brightly. So we don't have any other callers, and I just have that short message for us today. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap up our show. I want to send out another big thank you to Monika for coming on and talking to us about her book and her process and her creative process. Such valuable information for channelers, for creatives, for all of us. I want to thank everyone who listened into the show today, and thank you to those who called in with questions. Thank you to my producer, Reverend Tiffany White Sagewoman of Goldilocks Productions. Without her, this show would not be possible. If you want to get in touch with me for any reason, to book a session, inquire about working with me. Oh, you know what? I'm just getting a message here real quick, so let me just check this and see what's happening. Oh, we have another caller. Okay, great. Give me 1 second. I would love to take an opportunity and answer another question. I'm just going to find out where this person is calling from. Okay. We have area code 905. Are you there? Oh, okay. So 905 is still working on calling in. All right, we're just going to hang on for just a minute here. I will go ahead and let you know that if you do want to get a hold of me, you can book a session with me, or you can inquire about working with me, or you can just leave me some feedback. You can visit my website at www.ingridhturner.com. That's INGRIDHTURNER.com. And I'll also take this opportunity to let you know that the next show is next week, Tuesday, November 22nd, 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern. So we'll have Alicia Skye on to talk about her journey emerging as a healer. She's been using her healing gifts with family and close friends for many years, but she's now shifting her public focus to a healing lifestyle and profession from something much more conventional. So that'll be a really fun conversation. Okay, so 905, are you there?
Hello,
hi.
I'm here. Hi.
Oh, hi, what's your name?
My name is Dennis. I'm Dream Master in the chat room.
Hi, Dennis.
Hi, Ingrid. I love what you're doing. I love your show. First time here. Love your energy.
Thank you.
Well, you're welcome. And Monica's as well. And,
yeah.
She's a great energy as well. And
she is.
Looking forward to, because, she mentioned the Pleiadians, and I'd like to be interested in regards to the conversations or information exchange that she's had with them in a book or whatnot, in person.
Mm-hmm.
She's on the phone. But yeah.
Well, she's not on the phone anymore, and I don't I think she's not the one who had the conversation, the interaction with the Pleiadians. I believe that was another author that she was referring to. But if you want to go to her website, which is, let me get it real quick. I didn't keep it in my head. It is simplysolitary.wordpress.com. So it's a WordPress website. You can find her contact information and shoot her an email. and ask her about that and see if she can get you that information.
I was just wondering, just looking in regards to her perspective. Just to mention, the energy is really, I really enjoy the energy right here. I'm kind of a little bit particular.
Oh, good.
My time away. Okay. But yeah, just to mention, I know you got to close out the show. Might have other callers and whatnot. Just to mention that, there are some subjects coming up. And I just wanted to mention, to share with you, is that, we are coming into remembrance of a multidimensional being, right?
Yes.
And these times are, like you were mentioning, I believe it was you that was mentioning the up and down, right? Like a roller coaster, right? With the energy. And this is what occurs. And the higher vibration you hold, the more that you get reacted upon, per se, right? Upon the energy of the universe, right? This is what I find, right? And it's certainly not over, and a lot of people certainly are waking up, per se, right?
Yes,
and a lot of people have been here for a very long time already. Okay, so there are ones, they call them way showers or star seeds, whatever, man. I really do not like labels. But it's the energy that we bring, right? And how it emanates off of our person, right? Our energy field, right?
Yeah.
Because there are many that have come here to share. With humanity, what the universe has to offer, in short words. So anyway.
Yeah. No, you're so right. And it's, I don't like labels either. When I flinch a little bit when I hear things like starseed and, because even though it's accurate and it's like, I get it. Like I share that with you, that kind of, don't put it in a box because it doesn't belong in a box. But you're absolutely right. There are so many of us, you included, all of us who are here to share the message of spirit, of universal consciousness, whatever container, whatever box you need to put it out there. But that's the point, is there's so many of us emerging and popping up now because the same message is coming through everyone. You and me and Monika, it's all the same message. It's just coming out in different, it's using, like Monika was saying, it's using our experience, our human experience, to get the message out in a way that people who resonate with our experience can hear the message, right? Yep. And it's a beautiful time. It's a beautiful time. And these ups and downs and, like the stretching and friction and resistance, it's part of the experience, and it's a beautiful part of the experience if we can let it go and let it be what it is, and let it help us rise up to get where we need to be to spread that message.
Ingrid, the way I look at it, okay, it's something like this, okay, to learn, grow, expand, okay? Don't fret the past, learn from it, right? Okay. And the future is what it's going to be, and you create it, all right? Just live in the here and now, right?
Yeah.
So learn, right? See, we are humans, okay? We're gonna, the way I say it is the time that you think that you know it all, right? You might as well die, right? Because we learn. No, really serious, right? Until that time, right? Because otherwise, what's the point of being a human, right? And again, to hold love, compassion, forgiveness, and understanding, right? And those are hard for a lot of people, right? And again, this is the human experience. I really enjoy sharing this here and now, this human experience, with my fellow humans, right?
Mm-hmm.
And,
yeah.
A lot of people
I'm
didn't
with
get a choice to come back here. No,
I'm sorry?
Ingrid, a lot of people didn't get a choice to come down here again.
Right. True.
And there are a lot that did. And they're doing work. I see it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's beautiful.
It is beautiful. Thank you so much for calling in and sharing your words and your wisdom. I really appreciate being able to talk to you and hearing feedback about the show as well. So appreciate you. Thank you.
Well, thank you for taking my call, and I really appreciate what you're doing for us.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Dennis. You have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you.
All
You
right,
as well.
bye.
Thank you. Okay, bye.
Thank you. All right. Well, one more time, my website is www.ingridhturner.com. That's IngridHturner.com. I hope you join us again next week. We'll have Alicia Skye on talking about emerging as a healer. So thank you again for joining us. I'm so looking forward to diving in again. You have a wonderful day.
When you don't go to Geico.com, car insurance can be hard. Like early 90s heavy metal hard.
I'm yelling and screaming and I'm loud. Roar!
Geico makes it easy. You can review and update your policy or report a claim on Geico.com or the Geico mobile app. Because shouldn't we all have a little less stress in our lives?
I'm not even upset about anything.